The rain hadn't started yet, but I could feel it coming. Mira sat beside me, her heels off, bare feet tucked under her on the seat, still glowing from the gala. "You were amazing tonight," I said, glancing at her instead of the road for half a second too long. "The way you talked about that trial surgery, I could listen to you talk about medicine forever." She laughed, soft and tired. "You always say that, because it's always true." She reached over and squeezed my hand on the gear shift. "I love you, Daniel. I love you more." That was the last normal thing I remember saying. The truck came from the right, no lights, no horn, just a wall of steel that swallowed the world. Metal screamed. Glass exploded around me like ice. Then silence, the kind that rings in your ears louder than noise ever could. "Mira." My voice came out broken. My chest burned. Something warm was running down my arm, thick and steady. "Mira, are you—" "I'm okay. I'm okay, Daniel, look at me." Her face appeared through the smoke, pale, a cut above her eyebrow. She grabbed my hand. "Stay with me. Don't move. I can't feel my leg." "Don't move," she said again, firmer this time, already reaching for her phone. "Ambulance is coming. Just breathe." That's when I heard it. A man's voice, screaming from the other car. Not words, just pain. Myra's head snapped toward the sound. "Mira." I gripped her wrist. "Stay with me. Please." She hesitated. God, she hesitated, and for 1 second I thought she would. "I have to check him," she said. "He's bleeding out, Daniel. I can hear it in his breathing." "I'm bleeding too." "You're stable." "He's not." She was already unbuckling herself. "I'm a surgeon. I know the difference." "Mira, I'll be right back. I promise." She was gone before I finished her name. I sat there, trapped in a cage of twisted metal, watching through the shattered windshield as my wife ran, actually ran, toward the other car. Toward him. I didn't know it was him yet. I just knew it wasn't me. "Help." I tried to call out, but my voice cracked into nothing. Pain rolled up my side in waves. I pressed my hand against the wound and felt how much of me was already outside my body. Through the smoke, I watched her kneel beside the wreckage of the truck. She tore off her jacket, pressed it hard against someone's chest. Her hands moved fast, sure, the way they did in the hospital when she talked about saving lives like it was the easiest thing in the world. "Stay with me," I heard her say. Not to me. A stranger's voice moaned something I couldn't make out. Mira answered him low, urgent, familiar, too familiar for someone she'd never met. "Ethan. Ethan, look at me. You're going to be fine." Ethan. I knew that name. I'd heard it once, years ago, in a quiet, careful sentence she never repeated. "There was someone before you." My vision blurred, whether from blood loss or the sudden cold spreading through my chest. I couldn't tell anymore. "Mira," I whispered, though no one could hear me now. "Mira, please." Sirens wailed somewhere far off, getting closer, too slow. My hands felt heavier than they should. My eyes felt heavier too. I thought about the way she'd said "I love you" 20 minutes ago. I thought about her hand on mine at the gala, her laugh, the way she used to fall asleep with her head on my chest like nothing in the world could hurt us. I thought about her running toward him instead of me. The world tilted. Red and blue lights smeared across my vision like paint dragged across glass. "Sir, can you hear me?" A stranger's voice now, gloved hands cutting away at the door. I tried to answer. Nothing came out. The last thing I saw before the dark swallowed me whole was Mira, still kneeling beside Ethan, her hands slick with someone else's blood. Not mine. I didn't know if I'd wake up. I didn't know if I even wanted to. White light, beeping, a dull ache pulsing through my whole body like it belonged to someone else. "Daniel." I turned my head, slow, heavy. Grace's face came into focus, her eyes red, hair a mess like she'd driven straight from bed. "Hey," I croaked. "Don't you hey me." She grabbed my hand so hard it hurt. "You scared the hell out of me. Do you understand that? I'm okay." "You're not okay, Daniel. You flatlined for 11 seconds in the ambulance." 11 seconds. Her voice cracked. And where was Mira during all this? I didn't answer right away. My mouth was dry, my mind still fogged. She was helping someone. She was helping him. Grace's jaw tightened. The nurse told me. Some guy from the other car. Mira barely looked at you before she ran off. She's a surgeon, Grace. It's what she does. She's your wife. It's supposed to be what she does for you first. I didn't have an answer for that. Not when I wanted to say out loud. The door opened before I could try. Mira walked in, still in scrubs, dark circles under her eyes, hair falling loose from a bun that had given up hours ago. Daniel. She rushed to my side, took my hand, the one Grace wasn't already holding. Thank God. Thank God you're okay. Am I? I asked quietly. She flinched at that, just slightly. I got here as soon as I could. There was a lot of blood loss on his end. They needed his end. Grace's voice was ice. Do you hear yourself? Grace. Myra's tone sharpened. I saved a man's life tonight. I made a call. That's what I do. You made a call to save your ex over your husband. The room went very still. That's not fair, Mira said, quieter now, and I could hear something under the anger. Guilt, maybe, or the fear of being caught in it. Daniel was stable. Ethan wasn't. I did my job. Ethan, I repeated. The name still sat strange in my mouth, heavier than it should have been for a stranger. Myra's eyes met mine, and for a second, something flickered there. Then it was gone. I'll explain everything later. Right now, I just need to know you're okay. I'm alive, I said. That's something, I guess. She squeezed my hand like that settled it. Grace looked like she wanted to throw something. A knock interrupted the silence, and Tom leaned in, holding a ridiculous bouquet of gas station flowers and a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. There he is. Mr. Almost Died but still prettier than me. He set the flowers on the tray table. You had us worried, man. Guess I owe you a drink, I said. You owe me several. He glanced between Grace's fury and Myra's exhaustion, and wisely chose not to ask. Glad you're breathing, at least. Me too. Tom lingered near the door as Mira stepped out to talk to a nurse. Grace followed, still muttering under her breath. For a moment, it was just Tom and me. Hey, he said lower now, careful. Weird question. How'd Mira even know that guy was in the other car? Like, right away, before anyone told her who he was. I stared at the ceiling. I don't know. Because from what I heard, she was calling his name before the paramedics even confirmed his identity. The words settled into me slow, like a splinter working its way under skin. Maybe she just recognized his voice. I said, though I didn't believe it even as I said it. Tom shrugged, not pushing. Yeah, maybe. But the question stayed with me long after he left. It sat in my chest next to the ache from the accident, quieter, but somehow it hurt more. Nurse Alvarez came in to check my vitals the next morning, humming to herself, clipboard in hand. She was older, kind-eyed, the type who talked to fill silence. You're healing up nicely, she said, wrapping the blood pressure cuff around my arm. Better than Mr. Cross down the hall. That's for sure. Poor man. Your wife's been a godsend for him. I'll tell you that. She saved his life, I said. I heard. Not just that night, either. Alvarez glanced at the monitor, jotting something down. She's been checking on him for weeks. Texting him, asking about his PT sessions. Dedicated woman, your wife. My stomach tightened. Weeks. I remember because he mentioned it during his last visit. Said she was the only one who checked on him regular-like. She smiled, oblivious to what she'd just handed me. You're lucky. Not every wife's got that kind of heart. I didn't answer. I just stared at the ceiling until she left. Weeks. Not since the crash. Weeks. When Mira came by that evening, I was sitting up, waiting. You've been texting him, I said before she'd even set her bag down. For weeks. Before the accident. She froze for half a second, just half a second, but I caught it. Ethan? Yeah, I mean a little. He's been struggling since he got back. PTSD, nightmares, the whole thing. I was just checking in. You never mentioned it. Why would I? He's an old friend going through something hard. I didn't think it was a big deal. He's not just an old friend, Mira. He's your ex-fiancé. That was years ago. She crossed her arms, and something in her voice hardened, defensive. I'm allowed to care about someone's well-being without it meaning something, Daniel. Then why does it feel like you're hiding it? I'm not hiding anything. She said it too fast. I was going to tell you. It just never came up. It came up when you left me bleeding to go save him. That landed. I saw it land. Her jaw tightened, and for a second, guilt flickered behind her eyes before she buried it again. I did my job, she said quietly. I don't know how many times I have to say that. She left not long after, mumbling something about a shift starting. I lay there, replaying every word, looking for the seams. Priya stopped by an hour later, ostensibly to check my chart, though we both knew that wasn't really why. How are you holding up? She asked, not quite meeting my eyes. Honestly, I don't know anymore. She hesitated, pen tapping against the clipboard. Myra's my friend. I love her. But she stopped herself. But what? Nothing. Forget it. Priya. She sighed, lowering her voice like the walls might repeat it. Just ask her about the fund. What fund? I've said too much already. She forced a smile that didn't hide the worry underneath it. Ask her yourself, Daniel. It's not my place. She left before I could push further, and I was alone again with a new word rattling around in my skull. Fund. That night, unable to sleep, I reached for my jacket hanging by the bed, the one Mira had brought from home for me to change into. My hand brushed against something hard in the inside pocket. A phone. Not mine. I turned it on. No lock screen. No password. 3 unread messages sat at the top, all from a name I already knew too well. Ethan, thank you for everything. I wouldn't have made it without you. Ethan, I know this is complicated, but I still think about what we could have been. Ethan, does he know yet? I stared at that last one until the letters blurred together. Does he know yet? My hands were steady, oddly enough. Steadier than they'd been since I woke up in this bed. Something inside me had gone quiet, not calm, just still, the way the air goes still right before a storm finally breaks. I didn't know everything yet, but I knew enough. I scrolled up, past the last 3 messages, past weeks, past months, until the conversation stretched back further than I ever imagined. The first message was from February. 7 months ago. Ethan, I saw the article about your promotion. Congratulations, Dr. Reyes. Mira, thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Ethan, I heard about the surgery too. The one that almost cost you your license. You didn't have to fight that hard for a stranger. Mira, I couldn't just let him die on the table. Some things you don't walk away from. I kept scrolling. Message after message. Week after week. Small talk that grew less small. Check-ins that grew more personal. And then in April, something that made my chest cave in. Mira, I talked to the clinic. They can take you next month for the new rehab program. I already covered the deposit. Ethan, Mira, I can't let you keep doing this. Mira, you lost your leg saving 3 men in that convoy. The least I can do is make sure you walk again. Let me do this. Ethan, you already gave me enough. You gave me years I don't deserve. Mira, I left you when you needed me most. This isn't charity, Ethan. It's the least I owe you. I read that line 3 times. It's the least I owe you. I set the phone down on the blanket like it had burned me. My hands weren't steady anymore. I thought about our wedding day, the way she'd looked at me at the altar, tears in her eyes, promising forever like she meant every syllable of it. I thought about the nights she came home late from the hospital, exhausted, and I never once asked where the exhaustion really came from. I thought about the anniversary gift I never noticed missing from our savings account. Debt. That's what I'd been living inside of. Not a marriage. A debt she was paying off with my life stitched into the collateral. The door opened. Grace stepped in with coffee she didn't drink, took one look at my face, and set it down fast. What happened? I held up the phone, wordless, because I didn't trust my voice yet. She read it. I watched her expression shift from confusion to horror to something close to rage. Daniel. She sat on the edge of the bed. This isn't just checking in on a friend. This is... I know what it is. She's been funding his recovery. In secret. For months. Grace's voice shook. And she let you believe it started the night of the crash. I know, Grace. You need to leave her. Grace. I mean it. She grabbed my hand, desperate now. You almost died. And she ran to him. You find out she's been lying for months, and there's still a part of you defending her right now. I can see it on your face. She wasn't wrong. That was the worst part. Even now, staring at proof of everything. Some stubborn corner of my heart was still trying to build her an excuse. She feels guilty. She was young when she left him. People carry guilt in strange ways. I still love her, I admitted, hating how small my voice sounded. Love isn't the question, Daniel. The question is whether she loves you enough to stop choosing him. I didn't have an answer for that. I stared at the ceiling instead, the fluorescent light blurring at the edges. I need time, I said finally. Time for what? To get hurt worse. Time to figure out if there's anything left to save. My throat tightened around the words. She's my wife, Grace. 6 years. That doesn't just disappear because I'm angry. It shouldn't disappear, Grace said quietly, but it also shouldn't survive on secrets and guilt money. She left the phone on the table when she went to get the nurse, and I stared at it long after she was gone. At the messages. At the debt Mira had been paying long before she ever said I do to me. I thought I'd married a woman who chose me. Now I wasn't sure I'd ever really been the choice at all. I didn't confront her. Not because I forgave her. Not because I'd found some peace with it. I just knew that if I said anything in that hospital bed, with the messages still burning a hole in my chest, I'd say something I couldn't take back. So I stayed quiet. I let her think I hadn't noticed how strange I'd gone. By the time I was discharged, I'd already decided. I'd watch. I'd wait. I'd figure out what was real before I burned anything down. Work became my excuse. 2 weeks after I got home, I was back at my desk, throwing myself into shipment schedules and vendor calls like they mattered more than they did. My manager told me to slow down. I didn't. You look like a man running from something, Tom said, dropping a sandwich on my desk I hadn't asked for. Just staying busy. Busy's a nice word for it. I didn't argue. He wasn't wrong, and we both knew it. My father called on a Tuesday. We hadn't spoken in 8 months, not since the argument about him missing my birthday for the 3rd year running. I almost didn't pick up. Heard about the accident. Robert said, no greeting, same as always. You alive? Mostly. Good. Buy you a coffee. My treat, for once. I didn't know why I said yes. Maybe because everyone else in my life felt like a stranger wearing a familiar face, and my father, distant as he was, had never pretended to be anything other than exactly what he was. We sat at a corner table 2 days later. He looked older than I remembered, grayer, more tired. You look like hell, he said, stirring his coffee. Thanks. Your sister called me. Told me what happened. With Mira. I stiffened. Grace shouldn't have. She was worried. That's what family does. He took a sip, studying me over the rim of the cup. You gonna leave her? I don't know. That's a coward's answer. Dad, I'm not saying it to be cruel. He set the cup down. I spent 30 years married to a woman who made me feel like a placeholder for someone better. I stayed because I loved her, because I thought love was supposed to hurt like that. It cost me 20 years I'll never get back. I stared at the table, throat tight. I still love Mira. Loving someone and respecting yourself aren't the same thing, Daniel. You can do both. But if you only got room for one, pick the second. Love comes back around. Self-respect, once it's gone, takes a hell of a lot longer. It wasn't warm advice. It wasn't even kind, exactly. But it settled into me differently than anything Grace had said, because it didn't come from anger. It came from someone who'd lived inside the wreckage and was still standing, just barely. A week later, I ran into Lena Cho outside the hospital, the paramedic who'd cut me out of the wreckage that night. She recognized me before I recognized her. You're the guy from the crash on 5th. She smiled, easy, unguarded. You look a lot better than the last time I saw you. I was told I flatlined for 11 seconds. Explains the improvement. She laughed, real and unforced. I'm glad you made it. Wasn't sure you would. Neither was I. How are you doing? Actually doing, not the answer you give everyone else. No one had asked me that so plainly in weeks. Not Grace, who was too busy being angry. Not Tom, who softened everything with jokes. Not Mira, who was too busy managing her own guilt to notice mine. Honestly, I said, I don't know yet, but today's a little better than yesterday. That's a real answer, she said. I'll take it. Something about her honesty didn't ask anything of me. It didn't come tangled in guilt or history. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe without bracing for the next blow. I didn't know what it meant yet. I just knew it mattered. Mira noticed the distance before I ever said a word about it. That's the thing about 6 years of marriage. You learn a person's silence is the way you learn their voice. "You've been different," she said one night, standing in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed like she was bracing for something. "Quieter. Working late. You barely look at me anymore. I'm just tired." "Don't do that." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "Don't shut me out and pretend it's exhaustion." "What do you want me to say, Mira?" "I want you to yell at me. Fight with me. Anything but this." She gestured between us, at the space that had grown wider than the kitchen itself. "This silence is worse than anger." I didn't answer, because she was right, and I wasn't ready to give her what came after the silence broke. She reached for me, and I let her, because some stubborn part of me still wanted to. "I know I hurt you," she said quietly, "but I did what any doctor would have done that night." "This isn't about that night anymore, Mira." Her hand froze on my arm. "What does that mean?" I didn't answer. I just walked away, leaving her standing there with a question I wasn't ready to detonate yet. Her mother, Carol, visited a few days later. I wasn't there for most of it, but Mira told me pieces later, in a moment when the guilt in her seemed to need somewhere to go. "My mother thinks I ruined my life twice," Mira said, staring at her hands. "Once when I left Ethan for my residency instead of marrying him like she wanted. And once, I think, when I married you instead of going back to fix it." "Your mother said that?" "Not directly. She doesn't have to. She's been saying it since I was 26. Myra's voice thinned. "Ethan was an officer. Good family, good career, everyone's favorite choice. I broke off the engagement to finish my residency, and 2 years later, he got hurt in a training accident overseas. I wasn't there. I told myself my career mattered more. And you've been paying for that ever since. I don't expect you to understand what that kind of guilt does to a person. Try me." She looked up, eyes glassy. "It sits in your chest like a stone that never dissolves. Every time I saw his name, every time someone asked whatever happened to that nice young officer I almost married, I felt it. When he came back injured again after the convoy attack, and I found out I was one of the surgeons on call that night, I thought it was fate giving me a chance to fix what I broke. By funding his rehab in secret. By choosing him over me at the crash." She flinched but didn't deny it. "I wasn't choosing him over you. I was trying to outrun something that's been chasing me for a decade." It almost made sense. That was the terrifying part. I could see the shape of her guilt clearly enough to understand it, even if I couldn't forgive what it had cost me. Meanwhile, Ethan was healing fast, faster than anyone expected. Priya mentioned it to me once, almost as a warning. "He's walking again. Physical therapy's ahead of schedule. And he's not exactly hiding what he wants anymore." She wasn't wrong. I heard it secondhand from Priya, who'd overheard Ethan tell Mira directly, "I know I lost my chance once. I'm not losing it twice. You need to be careful," Priya told Mira the day I happened to walk by the break room and catch the tail end of it. "You're standing in the middle of 2 men, Mira, and you're about to lose the one who never asked you to choose." Mira didn't answer her, but through the crack in the door, I saw her face, torn open, guilty, afraid, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I asked her to sit down before I said anything. That surprised her, I think. She'd been braced for shouting for weeks, and I gave her a quiet kitchen table instead. "I found the phone," I said. "The one in my jacket pocket after the crash. I read everything, Mira. The messages. The clinic deposit. All of it." Her face went pale. "Daniel, let me finish. I need to say this once, all the way through, before I lose the nerve." She nodded, hands folded tight in her lap. "I know you've been talking to Ethan for months. Not weeks, months. I know you paid for his rehabilitation without telling me, out of our savings, money I thought was going toward the house we talked about building someday. I know that at the crash site, while I was bleeding out in a car you helped total, you ran to check on him first, and I know it wasn't a professional decision. It was a personal one. Daniel, please. I'm not finished." My voice stayed steady, which surprised even me. I'd expected to shake. I didn't. "I understand the guilt now. Your mother, the engagement, the accident you weren't there for. I understand why you feel like you owe him something. I even believe you when you say it isn't about romantic love. I don't think that's the point anymore. Then what is the point? Her voice cracked. The point is that for 6 years I thought I married someone who chose me completely. And I didn't. I married someone paying off a debt to a ghost, and I was just the life she built around it. That's not fair, isn't it? I looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel the old ache of wanting to fix it. If I'd been the one bleeding out with no one else in that other car, would you have run to me first? She opened her mouth and closed it again. The silence answered for her. Mira, I need you to tell me honestly, if he calls you tomorrow needing something, are you going to be able to say no? Not because you don't love me. I know you do, in your own way. I'm asking if you're capable of putting that guilt down. Her eyes filled, and this time she didn't hold it back. I don't know, she whispered. I've carried it so long, Daniel. I don't know who I am without it. I've tried to let it go. I don't know how. That's the most honest thing you've said to me in months. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. She reached for my hand across the table, and I let her take it. One last time. Tell me what you need me to do. I'll do anything. I need you to be able to promise me it won't happen again. And you can't, can you? She was quiet for a long moment, tears falling freely now. I want to promise you that. I want to so badly. But every time I think about him hurting, alone, I feel like I'm the only one who owes him enough to fix it. I don't know how to turn that off. I believe you, I said, and I meant it. That was almost the saddest part. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired and clear-eyed in a way I hadn't been in weeks. Some kinds of loyalty can't be shared, Mira. You've been loyal to his guilt longer than you've been loyal to our marriage. I don't think that's something I can compete with, and I don't think I should have to. So, what are you saying? I'm leaving. I said it quietly, without cruelty, the way you'd state a fact about the weather. Not to punish you. Not to hurt you back. I'm leaving because I finally understand that staying would mean asking you to be someone you've told me, honestly, you don't know how to be. Daniel, please, we can fix this. I don't want to fix this by asking you to carry guilt for 2 men instead of 1. That's not fixing anything. That's just spreading the damage around. She was sobbing now, quiet and broken, and some old version of me wanted to cross the room and hold her. I didn't move. I loved you completely, I said. I just don't think I ever had all of you to love me back. And I deserve someone who doesn't have to choose. I stood, and for the first time since the crash, I felt something other than pain settle into my chest. It felt like clarity. 6 months out, and the apartment finally felt like mine. It wasn't much, a 1-bedroom near the water, boxes I still hadn't fully unpacked. A couch Tom helped me carry up 3 flights of stairs while complaining the entire way. But it was quiet in a way that didn't ache. I'd forgotten silence, could feel like peace instead of a held breath. You've got actual plants now, my father said, standing in my kitchen with a grocery bag he'd insisted on bringing. Never thought I'd see the day. Lena got them for me, said the place needed something alive in it. Smart woman. He set the bag down, glancing around like he was cataloging the changes in me along with the furniture. You look better, Daniel. Lighter. I feel lighter. We've been having coffee every other week since that first conversation. It wasn't perfect. Years of distance didn't dissolve over a few cups of coffee and blunt advice. But it was real, and real was more than we'd had in a long time. He asked about my life now instead of assuming he already knew the answers. I started asking about his too. Your mother would have liked her, he said once. Out of nowhere, watching Lena laugh at something on my phone across the room. The way she doesn't perform for anyone. Just as who she is. He wasn't wrong. That was what I loved most about Lena. There was no debt in it, no guilt underneath the surface, no ghost standing behind her in every conversation. When she looked at me, she wasn't looking through me toward someone else. She was just looking at me. You don't have to prove anything to me, she told me once early on, when I tried too hard to explain myself, to justify why I was still healing. I'm not in a hurry, Daniel. Take the time you need. I'll still be here. Nobody had ever said that to me, and meant it the way she did. I heard about Mira through Priya, mostly, who still checked in on me now and then, caught between old loyalty and new honesty. Ethan had finished his recovery in the spring, walking on his own, back to something like his old life. And then, according to Priya, he'd told Mira the truth she probably already suspected. He said he only ever saw her as unfinished business. Priya told me over coffee, her voice careful, like she wasn't sure how much I wanted to hear. Not love. Not really. Just something he needed to close before he could move forward. Once he was healed, he didn't need her anymore. I didn't feel triumphant hearing that. I thought I might, once, some small vindictive part of me expecting satisfaction. Instead, I just felt a quiet, sad kind of recognition. Mira had spent a decade paying a debt to a man who saw her as a chapter to finish, not a person to keep. How's she doing? I asked, because despite everything, some part of me still cared. Not great, Priya admitted. She lost you. She lost him in the way that mattered. She's got her career, but I don't think that's enough to fill what's left. I sat with that for a moment. 6 months ago, that sentence would have gutted me. Now it just settled, quiet and final, like the last page of a book I'd already finished reading. I hope she figures it out, I said and meant it. I hope she finds a way to put that guilt down eventually. Just not with me carrying half of it. Priya smiled, small and genuine. That's more grace than most people would give her. It's not about grace. It's just I don't need her to suffer for me to feel okay. I already feel okay. And I did. That was the strangest part, the part one never expected walking out of that kitchen 6 months ago. I thought leaving would feel like losing. Instead, somewhere between my father's blunt honesty, Lena's steady warmth, and the quiet apartment I was slowly making mine, I'd found something I hadn't had in years. Myself. I still carry a scar from the crash, faint now, just above my temple. Some mornings I catch it in the mirror and remember exactly what it cost me to get here. Not just the accident, everything after, the messages, the silence, the confrontation that finally set me free. I never got revenge on Mira. I never needed to. Watching her lose the very thing she sacrificed me for was its own kind of justice, one I didn't have to lift a finger to create. I just had to walk away and choose myself instead. That was enough.